You know, bow season's changed. I used to hunt Ochiko unit back in the day, and I shoot, you could hunt Ochiko with an over-the-counter tag, and now it's all draw tags. All right, hey guys, Nate Bailey here with another installment. This is the third installment in how to choose a bow for traditional bow hunting in our series on how to traditional bow hunt. Now, before we get going, if you guys haven't been over to Barebow Hunters Group on Facebook, go over there. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. Please give us some likes. Give me some. You've probably watched the other 4 videos. Give me some questions, and I'll do a question and answer section with this, so we can answer some of your questions that come up through these videos. Okay, today I'm going to go over, this is how to choose a traditional bow, but I'm going to go over how we choose them according to their profiles, and their profiles being strung up and being just flat, so we can tell the differences between what we can expect from a bow, how we can expect it to shoot, and those kind of things. Now, there's a bunch of variables here. One of the big variables that you have to consider are the different types of woods, the different types of glass that are in them. Some of them have carbon limbs, some of them have laminations that are parallel, some of them have laminations that are tapered. So all the bowyers mess with this stuff to make the bow shoot the certain way. But the profile of the bow and the way that it's braced and how much energy is stored in it is pretty much standard across the whole bow spectrum. So this will give you a good idea, but from there you'll be able to move and do all sorts of different things. I'm going to start now with the longbows. The longbow section, there's a lot of different longbows out there. We go from mild to wild, and everything in between. So I'm going to show you. I don't have a real wild longbow, the real wild, what they call a hybrid, you know, handle forward longbows, but you'll get the picture out of what I have. So first thing I'm going to show you is just the old school typical longbow. This is a Howard Hill style. I mean, the old school longbows were just a flat bow. They had the tapers in them, but you see how flat that bow is? There is no what they call deflex coming off backwards or reflex coming up towards the front of the bow. The belly of your bow and the face of the bow. These are the terms that they have. So the belly of the bow doesn't have anything coming back this way, and the face of the bow doesn't have anything coming out this way. Okay, so the belly of this bow is, if you see, there's 3 laminates in this bow. Well, maybe there's 4. There's actually 4, and we have 1 on the belly and 2 on the face of the bow. Now, that all affects it, but one of the big things is, and the reason that fiberglass bows work probably better, I don't want to say better than self bows, because there's some excellent self bows out there, and then there's some excellent backed bows and things like that are out there. But the reason that fiberglass bows, and this is a fiberglass overlay on here, work so well is because they can actually bend and hold that bend in the bow, whereas just a regular self bow that's made out of wood will tend to follow that string and will get back. They'll get to where they won't hold that shape, and the shape is exactly what produces all of the speed out of your arrow, because it depends on how much brace height you have, or how much brace energy you have, energy at brace. So let me show you. They call this the regular D style bow, and I'll brace it for you. Now you see it has a certain amount of energy that's stored into this string right now. This has stored energy right here because it's bent these limbs to be able to, those limbs have stored energy in them. So as I'm coming off, there's energy there, but I'm putting more energy into those limbs as I pull back. Now it's kind of cool with this little bow. That's a little itty bitty bow. I don't know what weight has this one at. 17 pounds. At 25. So this is a 17 at 25 pound bow, and I'm pulling it to 26 right there. So this is a D style bow, very smooth, very easy to get into. If you're wanting to get into longbows, this is a real easy one to start with because they're a stable bow. The pull, they adjust for anything. Like I said, this one was set up for 25 inches, and I'm pulling it clear back to quite a bit further. So when you're looking for bows, look for bows that are set up, you know, kind of like this when you're coming into it, if you don't know what you want yet. Now, this bow, remember, was just a regular straight piece of wood, basically a piece of wood. All the fiberglass really is there for is to hold the shape. Now the next bow is a mild reflex deflex. So you have the deflex into the limb going to a reflex, okay? These reflex limbs, when it comes to brace, now that is going to bend back around, and that's going to add more energy into this bow. If you look at this bow, you probably can't see it, but if you look, there are a lot of laminates in there, and you see how this bowyer did that. He ground his laminates, and now they get wider again coming back out. Every bowyer does it differently. So it's to get the profile will tell you a lot, but the laminates do a lot too. This bow is very stable for being a hybrid bow. Some of them get really radical up here or real radical down here, and you'll see them when they get braced. They have kind of a look like that to them. They could still be a longbow as long as that string's not touching, other than just where it loops on there. But I'll string this one up for you and I'll show you what I'm talking about. When we go to brace on this, now if this was just a regular flat bow, you wouldn't have as much energy stored into this bow at brace. Now this has quite a bit more energy stored into the bow at brace. This bow is 66 inches at brace, but you can see how the tips, see how they come back out. And so your working limb, as I pull, your working limb is gaining energy over just a flat straight bow. Now some of these they reflex them like that, just so they can make them shorter. So when you're coming to draw, your limb angles aren't moving as much up here, so your limb's coming back, so you still have that same angle coming off of your limb. So they'll reflex them for that reason, so somebody with a longer draw could shoot a shorter bow. Because if you start getting your limbs to where you're pulling straight like that, it does what they call stacking on the limb. So if you're a longer draw guy, you really need to understand your draw lengths affect the bow that you should choose. Because with this bow, this is a 66-inch bow, you can pretty much draw this thing clear out to 35. I don't know what I'm pulling right there, but that's quite a bit longer than my draw is 26. So my draw is right there. So with a 66-inch longbow, you can get a long draw out of it. So that's another thing that you want to do when you're looking for bows. One of the other big things about this bow, and about draw lengths and how it's designed, the profile, is you got to understand that right before you get to that spot where you're coming up against the max that those limbs will hold into them, that is the most efficient the bow will run. So if for me shooting a shorter draw, a shorter length of bow works better, and that's why I like these bows, because I have a shorter draw. Now this is a recurve, and this is a radical recurve. This is a Mongol, but you see the radical, you see how radical that deflex is, and then of course it's a recurve limb, not a reflex. It's recurved. So this bow is really radical. A guy that shoots a long draw could not shoot this bow. And watch your angles up here when I come back. Now a recurve's a little bit better for that because the limb unfolds into a better angle. If it was a long bow and short like this, the limb would follow it all the way back. You'd get, generally speaking, you would get more of the limb falling back. But watch this as it uncurls. Now that's as far back on this bow as you'd really want to go with this guy. Wade made this bow especially for me. This is a 56-inch bow, and it's much past where I draw, like an inch past it, it stacks bad. It stacks really bad, and he made it that way. I wanted one like this because I get the most energy you could get out of a limb of a shorter bow like this is right before it stacks, and it's right at that spot, and it actually helps me with my back tension too, because in order to get to my full draw, to where I got everything constant, I have to have good back tension. I can't do a lot of this. I can't do a lot of that because where it's at is kind of a wall there. Wade, that's one of the reasons I love to shoot these bows.
this is not something you jump into. This is something that you learn over the years of what you could shoot and what's better for you. So a bow like this compared to a bow like this for beginners, unless you've shot a lot, this bow is going to be a lot easier to start with. If it fits your hand. We've gone over, if you haven't seen the video number 4 and number 3, go over the videos and you'll know what I'm talking about by hand. If it fits your hand, this bow is going to be easier for you to begin with. This bow is something that you can move up to. This bow, the reason you want to move up to it is because I shoot out of tree stands and I shoot in brushy, elky stuff, and I shoot out of blinds. So these are the things that you move into, and the things that you want to take into account when you buy bows. So when you go out and you go, oh man, that's the coolest bow ever. Well, it may look cool, it may be cool, and for some people it might, but it may be the worst bow for you. So one other recurve here I have, and this is kind of more of a traditional easy-going recurve, is you see how easy those limbs are? There's a little bit of deflex in it. Fred Bear made this one. This is a Bear Cub. This is my grandfather's old bow. I wish I could shoot it, but I can't shoot it because of this grip. I'm not good at shooting with this grip. I wish I could. That's all I could say is I wish I could shoot this bow. I'd love to kill a deer with my grandpa's bow. But this bow, if you watch the tips, you're going to get more of the tip movement up here and less down here, less of the limb movement down there. And it's a real stable bow. This is a really stable shooting bow because of the way that it's designed. Now, you're losing some of the stuff that you would that you gain by shooting the Mongol. For one, it's long. This thing's almost as long as my longbows. For two, coming off a brace, it's pretty tight right off a brace, whereas the Mongol's just super smoothy, silky off a brace. And that's the reason I like it, is because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if you see an animal, the first thing, that first 3 inches is where he's going to catch you if he catches you. And if it's silky smooth off there, you don't have to jerk at it to try to get back. And that's why I like them. Is it's a hunting bow first, man. I'm not an archer, I'm a hunter. So those are a few things that you need to think about. Leave some comments and some questions down below, and I will answer those. I'll bring them up in. Here comes Max. They've been down in the pond down there anyhow. And I'll bring those up. I'll do a question and answer period at each one of these now. So if you have a question, if something comes up, go ahead and bring them up and I'll answer them. I have one question that was asked in the last video, and it talked about bow, the weight of a bow. Would I pick aluminum riser bow because it's so heavy? And I said, the biggest thing is heavy isn't the biggest thing to me. The biggest thing is making sure the bow fits you. So if you have 2 bows and one of them you can't shoot because it doesn't fit your hand right, I don't care if the thing's 10 pounds, you pick the bow that you could shoot right. And then get rid of your aluminum bow and get you one that's lighter. Not all aluminum bows are heavy, but this guy's apparently was. So if that's my take on it, always shoot the bow that you could shoot the best. You know, there's an old saying going around, the guy with the one rifle is the most dangerous guy out there because he knows that rifle. So it's the same thing, although you guys would argue with me, you bow guys would argue with me, because you can't have too many of these. My wife would she would argue with me, but I would tell her you can't have too many of these. And because they're work of art. This is American work of art right here. But so that is, you know, get the bow that fits you, the one that you shoot well. If you have to pack 10 extra pounds, no bow's 10 pounds, but if you have to pack a couple extra pounds, I would do that over shooting a bow that doesn't fit you any day. All right, that said, you guys go over to Barebow Hunter group over on Facebook. Go over there. We've also done on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, tag your photos Barebow Culture, and so we could see who's watching this stuff. Because if you tag those and your buddy and you see other people tagging it on Instagram, then we'll see who watches all this stuff. We're kind of our own little group of people. So do that, and also give me a subscribe. The subscribe button will be right there. It's kind of way over here actually. And then check out our last video and it'll be way over here. Also go to barebowhunters.com, www.barebowhunters.com. I upload all these videos to there, so you have an index of where you can find them. You can go back, review them, leave me comments, go back, you know, tell me the things that you found out. Maybe go out, shoot. Leave me some links to your videos if you're shooting that maybe something you've learned off of what we're doing here. I want to know all that stuff. This is a community thing, guys. I want to get you guys into this. All right. If you don't have a Barebow yet and you've been watching these, go buy one. I don't care how much it costs. Just get yourself one. Get out there and let's get shooting. All right, guys, take it easy.